Welcome back. We're on the map. Today, the Bush administration is flinching under a series of blows to its enemy combatant policy. The first is from a U.S. appeals court, which has ruled that the government cannot indefinitely detain an immigrant named Ali al-Mari without laying charges. And this week, 25 CIA agents face a judge in Rome, accused of kidnapping a Muslim man who was flown to Egypt where he says he was tortured. This puts the practice of extraordinary rendition on trial for the first time. At the same time, European investigator Dick Marty has just released a report with what he calls proof of CIA secret prisons in Poland and Romania. For more on all of this, we're joined by Michael Scheuer, who worked for the CIA for 22 years. He was the architect of the original rendition program under the Clinton administration. He's in Washington.
Thank you.
Let's start with the latest news in the Council of Europe report with its description of CIA prisons, black sites in Poland and Romania. Dick Marty, the Swiss investigator, relied on CIA sources. What's your response to the report?
I think it's just more, wailing in the night by the European human rights people. Clearly, if there were CIA prisons in Europe, they were there with the permission of the local governments and the local governments in the United States making an effort together to counter al-Qaeda and its allies.
If there were, I mean, you've been in this business for a really long time, Michael. Were there or weren't there? Are there or aren't there? You must know.
Well, the president said we had places in various parts of the world, and I certainly can't do better than to recommend to you what the president said.
What about the trial starting in Rome now? This is 25 of your former colleagues on trial for a program that you essentially were the architect of under the Clinton administration. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's purely domestic politics in Italy. At least that's the way it seems to me. The operation that's at the subject of the trial clearly was undertaken with approval and sanction of the Italian government. And now there is a ruckus within the political system in Italy, and the CIA will be the fall guy in it, or at least they'll try to make the CIA the fall guy.
So listen, you're one of the architects of this rendition system where suspects are kidnapped and taken to third countries. Make the argument for why it's a good way to deal with suspected terrorists.
Well, it's certainly the most successful counterterrorism operational plan that we have had in the United States, and probably second only to the British in Northern Ireland in accomplishing its goal, which was to get people off the street who were a threat to the United States or its allies, and to seize at the time of their capture whatever electronic or paper documents they had in their perusal, on the basis that they never, on their person rather, on the basis that they never thought the Americans would read those kind of things. I have to stress to you, though, that the rendition program was meant to be a complement to a government-wide counterterrorism program. And unfortunately, under both the Bush administration and the Clinton administration, the rendition program has remained the main force of counterterrorism. And unfortunately, it cannot do it by itself. It's a very marginal contribution to the overall war.
Canadians have had a good look at the rendition system through the case of Maher Arar. What happens when you pick up innocent people, when you make a mistake?
War is tough, isn't it? That's one of the things I think both of our countries have tended to forget, and we certainly don't educate our children anymore in the nastiness of war. Mr. Maher was picked up. Apparently, he was not guilty of anything or responsible for any action of terrorism. And he was released and compensated, I gather, by the government. But I have to say again that the Maher operation was not a CIA operation. It was an operation done by the United States government at the request of the Canadian government, as I understand it. But it was not a CIA operation.
It was a rendition operation, and it got the wrong guy. I mean, when you say that war is tough and that's just too bad, there's a suggestion, there's an implication under your words that anything is justifiable to protect American lives and that the lives of citizens of other countries just don't matter as much. Is that how you feel, really?
That's my attitude, yes, sir. I was never paid to be a citizen of the world. I was paid to protect American citizens and, to the extent possible, those of our allies.
Then I can only talk to you in terms of American interests rather than universal human values, so I'll do that.
Yeah, that's...
The core argument in your book, Imperial Hubris, and the way that you summarize it, is that bin Laden-led Islamists attack America for what we do via our foreign policies, not for what we say or believe. Like, as President Bush says, they hate us because we're free, etc. That it's American foreign policy that is provoking these attacks. So the question is, this whole extrajudicial system of extraordinary rendition, of military commissions, of creating new legal mechanisms to get around the laws of the United States and international justice, is this not exactly the kind of policy that is creating hatred towards America?
Oh, I don't doubt at all that it contributes to it, but it's very marginal in the sense that the bigger issues of U.S. and Western foreign policy are what motivates our enemies. The problem we have is we have an American governing elite who refuses to review or reconsider any of the foreign policies we've had in the Islamic world since the middle of the Cold War. And as a result, we're forced to defend America and at kind of a catch-as-catch-can basis. And the rendition program certainly has been successful in that, but it or military power alone will not carry the day for America or the West. As long as the major policies are in place, our support for Arab tyrannies, our unqualified support for Israel, our presence on the Arabian Peninsula, our military activities in Islamic countries, those are the policies that need to be changed, and there's really no way around that.
Michael Scheuer, we're out of time, but thanks for being on the map.
You're welcome, sir.